What's going on, yoga teachers and leaders? It's your girl Abiyala Akani, and today you're going to be learning how to create yoga sequences that sell and position you as a yoga celebrity. Welcome back. And if this is your first time joining me, I'm happy to have you here. My name is Abiyala Akani. I'm the founder of the EOL Yoga School. I'm a 3 times yoga business owner, as well as a yoga teacher trainer and a coach. And honey, I am so incredibly passionate about supporting high achieving career women and yoga entrepreneurs with breaking all the rules to lead a life of non-performance. I've actually graduated 5 cohorts within my 200-hour non-performative yoga teacher training, which focuses on helping you build confidence to lead masterful yoga classes and programs outside of the traditional studio model to bring yoga back to the real people. And today we're going to be breaking down my intuitive sequencing infrastructure that I teach within my 200-hour yoga teacher training to support you in becoming the best yoga entrepreneur that you can possibly be, because you deserve to. Now, before I get into that, let's discuss the tangibles and the intangibles that really support or position yoga celebrities or yoga entrepreneurs that are at the peak performance to garner such a large and massive following. When you think about a yoga class or a yoga sequence, you want to think about the tangibles and the intangibles. Think about a yoga class, a yoga workshop, a yoga retreat that you've been to with one of your favorite yoga teachers. Think about the tangible part of that practice and how the practice allowed you to feel in your physical body, and the intangible part of the practice that almost gave you this sense of greater belonging and empowerment that you were searching for, but have only been able to experience with or amongst the community that that teacher has created. Those are the intangible and tangible aspects or characteristics that position yoga celebrities to garner these massive followings. So for today, we're just going to focus on the tangibles, the yoga sequence itself, because that's where it all starts. The physical practice supports so many people to be able to move forward in their bodies, whether that be strength and stability or mobility or functional movement. Those are the tangible benefits that you get from an incredibly sequenced yoga class that really sells. Now we're going to get into the intuitive sequencing infrastructure that I teach exclusively within my 200-hour yoga teacher training. So let's go ahead and get started. Grab a pen and paper and make sure to write this down. Now the first thing to know is when it comes to a yoga sequence, you're looking at somewhat of an arc that guides your students through a really incredible experience in their body. Now, the first pillar of an intuitive yoga sequence, or in this art, is guided breath meditation. I always have students and my trainees start with guided breath meditation because when you think of the term yoga, it means to yoke or unite. And the invisible agent that is doing this yoking or this unioning is the breath. It's connecting the mind and body together, because when you remove the breath, you remove the consciousness. The soul body is extracted from the physical vessel. And most of the time, one of the symptoms of walking in performance, where you are not embodied in your authentic expression, is the absence of the breath. Your breath patterns change and you begin to experience more of a shallow, dysregulated breath. So the first element of an intuitive sequence is to help your students reconnect with their breath. There's multiple breathing practices that you can advise them to do, or you can guide them through based on the peak or the energetic quality of the practice. There's warming or heat building pranayama, there's cooling pranayama, and there's balancing pranayama. Choose the pranayama that best supports the energetic quality of the class or the workshop that you are offering, always start with guided breath meditation first. Number 2, and as you can see, we're moving up on the arc, is arriving. With your arriving features adaptable asana that mimics or mirrors the anatomical action happening in your peak posture. Your peak posture being the largest pose within your sequence. The mistake that I often see students do who come into our training who've graduated from other yoga teacher training, they're grouping large poses together that have the same difficulty as their peak. There's really no strategic or systematic ladder that really supports your students to build up and progress or digress. So when it comes to, in your arriving, featuring adaptable yoga postures, you are providing variations that mimic the anatomical action happening in your peak to almost create mini yoga variations that also support functional movement. For example, let's say your peak is Warrior 2. So in your arriving, you're going to offer modified Warrior 2, and you're going to even refine more. So you might have pose variations that activate your posterior chain, since Warrior 2 is a grounding posture, activating the glutes. It also mobilizes the hips. Now, one thing to keep in mind in arriving poses are closer to the ground, meaning that you're in a kneeling position, or you might be lying down. You're closer to the ground. So your guided meditation might be started laying down or in a seated position, and then from there you're slowly progressing into kneeling positions. Now, number 3 is your closed hip. This is where you feature your closed hip conditioning. It's also where you're starting to guide your students up to standing postures. We're focusing on closed hip because before we open the hips, we want to focus on mobilizing the hips first. Closed hip conditioning could focus on the hip flexors, or once again, posterior chain activation, or mobilization of the upper body, depending on what your peak posture is. Now, when we get to closed hip, you're in standing postures, so you have more of gravity wearing down. And if your students are challenged here because of that additional element of gravity that they didn't have when they were in kneeling postures in their arriving, they can always digress down to the kneeling postures or the kneeling variations that you did originally in the arriving. I'm going to pause here, because if this is resonating and you're taking all the notes, I'm going to do you one better, child. You can get my intuitive sequencing infrastructure when you click the link in my bio. It's a free download that I've made for you, and inside of it I've also included some of those intangible aspects that really set up a yoga sequence that sells, that cultivates the vibe, that makes it a novelty experience. This is what I was actually able to do when I created Trap Vinyasa, which is my hip-hop based yoga practice that I started a few years ago that went insane. We did 50+ studio tours. We had a yoga teacher training through Yoga Alliance, annual retreats in Kauai, Hawaii. And I was really able to do this not only because of this incredible intuitive sequencing infrastructure I used to create 4 duplicatable yoga sequences, but I also focused on the intangibles that I'm going to be including within this free download to create a vibe within a practice that your students cannot find anywhere else, that really position me to draw in massive fandom and an audience that was unique to Trap Vinyasa. If you're ready to take your yoga sequencing to the next level, click the link in my bio to get this free download, and let's continue with this video. So we did guided breath. Section number 4 in your sequence is your open hip. Now we're getting to open hip conditioning. And notice that I'm saying open hip conditioning because it's not only about mobilization. Conditioning is a certain aspect that we want to start to weave in, and that sets a lot of yoga teachers apart. If you're only focusing on hyperflexibility, you're late to the party, honey. You want to start to incorporate in conditioning to stabilize the body, strengthen the body. I just posted about this in my previous yoga video where I was talking about how to safely sequence yoga inversions. If you haven't watched that, click and watch it up here. But we want to focus on stability because it's not about just stretching the body as far as it can go from limb to limb. It's about mobilizing the joint and cultivating healthy muscle tone to support healthy joint mobility. We've already focused on closed hip conditioning. Now, The hips are nice and pulped and warmed up. You're in standing postures in closed hip. Now you're in standing poses in open hip. You can see how this creates a beautiful dance through the body, which I've definitely been able to master with my sequencing, because I literally look at sequencing like an art form. I look at it as a journey through my students' bodies. I look at it as a journey through my own body. And that's what's been able to help me create yoga sequences that sell. And now I've culminated all of that knowledge and teachings into our non-performative yoga methodology. Section number 5 within your intuitive sequencing infrastructure is back bends. Now, you don't just choose any back bends. Because it says back bends, that doesn't mean you're just going to pluck a bunch of different back bends. You want to choose the back bends that you've prepped your students' bodies for based on your peak, right? And that the body, your students' bodies have been pulped and prepped for. Section number 6 is your cool down. This is where you're now taking them back down onto their knees. The arriving, they're on their knees, and in their cool down, you're taking them back down onto their knees as well. That's why the arriving and the cool down are down regulating your nervous system. They're very grounding, very settling for the body. And then your closed hip, your open hip, and your peak are more nervous system resiliency. They're more activating for the nervous system and adapting the nervous system to new states of power, because they're building more heat in the body. So when you get to your cool down, you are once again choosing postures that the body has been prepped for. And then lastly, we have Shavasana. And in Shavasana, that's where you ain't talking, honey. Zipping the lip, and you're just focusing on guided meditation. Now, you've already sequenced in the breath from the beginning and throughout, so you don't have to do a guided breath meditation at the end. Hopefully you've guided them enough in their breath where they're intuitively aware of their breath and they're now breathing more consciously. So they're ready to just experience the benefits of the meditation and the benefits of the postures and really settle in to complete that syncing and that yoking of the mind and body. And once again, if this video really resonated for you and really painted the picture of a beautiful sequence arc and you want to utilize it to start to systematically create yoga sequences that sell, click the link in my bio to get my free intuitive sequencing download and start to craft your own intuitive yoga sequences right now. And if you have any questions along your yoga entrepreneurial journey or your sequencing journey, click the link below to book a call with me. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to have a little conversation about where you are on your entrepreneurial journey to maybe support you in seeing where you would like to go. Lastly, if you would like to get your 200-hour yoga teacher training certification and you're trying to find the right YTT, click the link just to learn a little bit more about our non-performative YTT, hear from our past students, learn a little bit more about what we do to see if we're the right fit for you. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Be sure to drop a comment below to let me know what's coming up for you on your yoga sequencing journey. Continue to be well, and I'll see you real soon.